It's time for the Financial Crisis Talk Center with Ken Gross and David Einstandig from Thav Gross.
Credit card debt is number one. I view it as financial cancer.
40% of your gross income is going to just pay the debt service. You got no chance of getting out.
I would give up my credit score to get rid of debt.
Here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome back to the Talk Center. This segment of the Talk Center, we're going to talk about the nasty term, but is not really always a nasty term, and the word is foreclosure.
I thought it was going to be mother-in-law.
That's I'm not passing on that one. I mean, what do you mean?
I like my mother-in-law.
I like my mother-in-law. David,
I would put you under oath. I would put you under oath, but it'd be too easy.
I like my mother-in-law. Don't be nasty. David Einstein, my co-host, Brian Small, bankruptcy guy.
Bankruptcy guy. Bankruptcy guy. I'm the bankruptcy guy.
Is it the car guy? What show has the guy? There's a show where somebody's the blank guy.
The car guys.
The car guy.
I don't watch TV.
Good. You spend all of your time reading outlines, I know, but unfortunately it's usually not the Financial Crisis Talk Center outline. Jenny Lingle, our tax guru. Hi, Jenny.
Good morning, Ken.
Trevor Cruz.
Hey, Ken.
Everything good in the Lansing office?
Lansing office is great.
Okay. All right. Now, we're talking foreclosure. Here's what I want to talk about. First, I want to do some facts because I want to put it in the context of of real people. I don't think you get the flavor of an issue unless you have a story that goes to it. So we're going to use my favorite couple, Mike and Rita. I've been using Mike and Rita for 6 years now.
It's the only couple's name that he actually can remember in the outline.
I'm pretty safe that I can go through and later on in the show I'll still be talking about Mike and Rita because when I use Dan and Betty or something like that, it always gets messed up. Here's their situation. Right now, they're 60 days behind on their mortgage payment. Their fair market value of their home is $175,000. They have a first mortgage with Bank of America, who Brian likes to call Bank of Un-America, for $180,000. Their mortgage payment is $1,750 a month. That includes principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, so those are escrowed. They have a second mortgage with Chase for $20,000. Their payment on that is $325 a month. Their gross monthly income is $5,000. Now, I'm only giving you these facts. I'm not going to talk about whether they have a lot of credit card debt or don't. I'm not going to focus on other possible issues, bankruptcy and things like that. I want to focus and make this segment a foreclosure segment and talk about the terms that people need to understand when it comes to foreclosure. So I want to give you some key concepts. And the first one is, let's define the term foreclosure. And I would define it this way. It's where a lender pursues its security lien in the property by accelerating the balance due and then causing the property to be sold at a sale to the highest bidder. So if you stop making the payments on your house and the bank is owed $180,000, after you go 60 days behind, they send you a letter accelerating the balance saying you now owe us the full $180,000 plus interest accruing and everything else. You no longer have the right to make payments is what they say. And they start advertising it for sale in the legal news for, the law says 4 weeks, but they have to go 5. But they also have to comply with other laws that are now on the books that govern how they have things that they must do to foreclose. But when the property ultimately gets sold, the highest bidder owns the property. Who's the highest bidder usually? The bank, because they don't have to come up with any money at the sale. They can bid up to the amount that they're owed, or they could bid less if the fair market value was less than that.
Can they also refer to that as a sheriff sale? Because under the statute, it's the sheriff or the representative of the sheriff at the local, typically it's at the local county or courthouse that conducts the sale.
Okay.
It's also important to note that there are two methods in Michigan to foreclose. There's foreclosure by advertisement, where if you are behind and all of a sudden you come home and something's posted on your door and it's been published in the legal news, or there's foreclosure through the judicial process where you will be served with a lawsuit to proceed with the foreclosure.
And it's unusual for judicial foreclosure to occur. It happens more in the context of commercial property, and it also does happen on residences when certain statutes and certain provisions that govern the lenders now apply that precludes them from the right to foreclose by advertisement, which is the easier way that they do it. The lender wants to foreclose by advertisement. He doesn't want to have to file a lawsuit and have the time and cost of a lawsuit in order to reacquire the property.
Unfortunately for the lenders, though, because of the combination of MCL 3206 and Reg X, they are headed more towards more judicial foreclosures. So if you've received a lawsuit and you're not sure what's going on, better pick up the phone and call a lawyer.
You're getting a little bit ahead, but you're making one point that's always an important point. If you get a letter, if you get a certified letter, if you get served with a paper, if you get served with a complaint, the worst thing that you could possibly do is nothing. You can't just stick your head, 7 inches under the ground, bury your head in the sand, and think the problem will go away. Whatever you do, when you get served papers like that, you need to get in touch with somebody who knows the law and can counsel you on what your options are and what to do. All right, now, concept. 2 other things on foreclosure that I want to get out there. Once it goes to sale, you have what's called a statutory redemption period, which generally allows you to stay in the home for 6 months, as long as you maintain the home for a 6-month period, and then you actually will be evicted by the buyer at the foreclosure sale, unless during that 6-month period you redeem the property by coming up with the money and paying off the bid price, which is usually the amount you owe.
Now, Ken, what happens if you don't maintain the property? Do you still get the 6 months?
They can file an affidavit and now force you out under the new revised statute in Michigan. So you have to be careful, and you have to stay in. You have to occupy. They actually have the right to come knock on your door and inspect your home now. It's a new statute that came out last year. We were appalled by it, but it's now it's the law of the land, and the law is the law.
They are doing that as well.
The redemption right, by the way, also could be up to 12 months, depending upon the amount of equity you actually have in the home.
If you've paid more than 2/3 of the mortgage. Okay. All right. Now, full credit bid versus non-full credit bid. David, what's a full credit bid?
Full credit bid is simple. It is when the lender bids the full amount of the debt on the mortgage at the time of the sale.
So when that happens, you're done. If the lender bids the full amount of the debt, it's like the lender buying the house from you. At that point, the debt is discharged. You no longer have any obligation to the lender for the shortfall. But suppose the lender only bids, and in Mike and Rita's case, it's a $180,000 mortgage. They only bid $160,000. At that point, there's a potential that they can sue you for a $20,000 deficiency by filing a lawsuit in court going after the deficiency. If the deficiency is more than $25,000, it's got to be in circuit court. Less than $25,000, it could be in district court.
And don't forget about the second mortgage that you still owe. We can talk about that.
And that's still there. All right, now we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to give you the 4 options of dealing with a house when you're facing a potential foreclosure. We'll be back after the break.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Thav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Thav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
You like your job. What you don't like is the way your boss has been treating you. He's making comments about how you look instead of your work, and he's been touching you inappropriately. If you complain, is he allowed to fire you? Absolutely not. Unwelcome sexual comments, advances in contact are illegal in the workplace. Make him pay. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place. Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Welcome back. All right, we're talking foreclosure. I want to go through a couple little housekeeping administrative announcements, and then we're going to get back to 4 options that you have to deal with when you're facing a house and looking at the prospect of foreclosure. First of all, we've now taken our websites, thavgross.com and financialcrisistalkcenter.com, and we've made them smartphone adaptable. So if I don't suggest if you're driving in the car that you go to our website unless you're a passenger, because it would be the obvious, but it's to make it convenient. There's the Financial Crisis Analyzer is on the Financial Crisis Talk Center website. It's free. You go there, you input your data. It gives you a report instantly back as to what your available options are in terms of modifying my house, short selling my house, dealing with credit card debt. Is bankruptcy possible? Would it be good? Would it be bad? Chapter 7, Chapter 13. These are smart things to do. It's free. It's private. Nobody knows what you're doing. If you want to get that information, it's a good way to get started in analyzing the problem. Remember, it's all about options. That's what we're trying to reveal to people, because if you just go to someone who only does one thing, they're not going to reveal to you the different options you have of addressing a problem. And oftentimes, it's a combination of options that become the optimal strategy. I want to thank our sponsors, Gold Star Law, Samasco Law, Elite REO Services, Alan Stalter, coming on board in our Lansing and Jackson markets, Trips Auto Shop and Collision Center in Jackson and Lansing, and also U.S. Staffing in Jackson and Lansing. We've got a couple seminars coming up. First seminar is called Strategic Debt Elimination. It is on Wednesday, April 30th from 7 to 8:30 at our Bingham Farms office. And in Lansing at the Downtown Public Library, it's on Wednesday, May 7th, 7 to 8:30 p.m. Seminars are all about the quarterback. The seminar is an hour-and-a-half presentation that runs through options. But the absolute most important part of the seminar is the 4-minute quarterback speech that David Einstein gives to people. It's like Ronald Reagan doing Newt Rockney in the in what was the name of the movie?
Newt Rockney All-American.
There you go. Whatever.
Whatever.
Did you know that you were like Newt Rockney? Did you know that? But it's the seminar. Are you here, David? Are you still with us? Will you be around for the
There's no question. It's the most dynamic and important part of the seminar.
And he always makes the
If
point.
you do
that
say so yourself.
He always makes the point that that's the case. He always starts off by saying, "When I go to a seminar, I always want to just remember one thing and one thing only. And even though Ken's talked for 48 minutes, I'm going to give you the one thing that you're going to remember."
And what do they remember?
We're not going to tell you. You're going to have to go to the seminar in order to find out. But we talk about short sales, loan mods, fighting foreclosure, bankruptcy, settling credit card debt, solving tax issues, budgeting, all of the possible options. I encourage you to take advantage of it. To sign up, you go to the websites. There's a registration form. We mail you tickets. You can also call 888-235-HELP.
Can we also hang around for whatever Q&A there may be?
And there's always a lot of Q&A. And people enjoy the seminars. We get a lot of great comments. We usually, the last seminar, everybody was up and applauding. One woman came up and said there were angels behind me.
It's because it was over.
It's because they didn't like your quarterback speech. No, they did. I have another seminar coming up. This is a special VA seminar explaining special benefits available to veterans and their families when it comes to care of the aged, as well as addressing financial issues. It's a joint seminar that's sponsored by our law firm, Thav Gross, and also Pat Simasco from Simasco Law in Mount Clemens. Pat is one of the premier elder law attorneys in the state, and this seminar is addressing there are veteran benefits available for aid to the aged up to $1,700 a month that most vets are not aware of, and it's not that difficult to become eligible, and there's also spousal benefits as well. So we're going to put on a seminar with Pat. There's 2 times up for it. Tuesday, May 13th at the Grosse Pointe War Memorial. We'll be there from 6:30 to 8 p.m. And also Wednesday, May 21st at the Royal Oak Public Library. If you want more information on those, I don't believe it's up on our website yet. You have to call 888-235-HELP or check the website. By the time, if you're watching this show on the television version of the Financial Crisis Talk Center, it'll probably be on the website at that time. A very informative seminar. There's benefits out there that people are not aware of for vets, and they certainly deserve the best possible shot at whatever benefits that they can obtain. All right, now let's go back to what we were talking about with the house. 4 options. You're facing the potential foreclosure. You're behind in your payments. You're struggling. One option is you could let the house go to foreclosure, kind of ride it out and let it run, and we'll talk about it in a second. I'll give you the 4 options first. 2, you could short sell the home. 3, you can seek a loan modification. And 4, you can catch up on it, either by scrambling to get the cash or by using a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. All 4 are viable options. Now the big question is, which is the one that makes sense? That's what you have to analyze the situation that you're in order to figure it out. We talk about foreclosure, and most people think of foreclosure as a bad word, an awful event. And it's a bad thing if you don't want it to happen to you. But we also use foreclosure as a tool of financial crisis management, and believe it or not, sometimes it's a good thing. Brian, do you have an example of when it would be a good thing?
Well, of course. Listen, if you owe money on a house, like these people do, and it turns out your house is only worth $100,000 and you owe $180,000, but it happens to be that when it goes to foreclosure, because of whatever circumstances, it becomes a full credit bid, which we talked about. You end up eliminating your personal responsibility on the debt. The mortgage is retired. You didn't have to file a bankruptcy, and there's no deficiency.
All right, now let's back up a little bit because we introduced full credit bid earlier. If you owe $180,000 on the house and the bank bids at the foreclosure sale the $180,000, that's a full credit bid and you're done. Now, in our case, on our example, the house is underwater, but it's not that far underwater. It's $175,000 is the fair market value of the home. The first mortgage is $180,000. We still have Chase that has a second mortgage of $20,000. In this case, if Mike and Rita let the house go to foreclosure, chances are it would be a full credit bid. So that means they don't have to worry about a potential deficiency down the road. So let's suppose they don't like the house anymore. They want to get rid of the house. They don't like where it's located. They don't like the fact that it's got some problems in it, and they'd like to dump this house. Foreclosure might be their best bet. We'll be back after the break, and we'll explain to you a little bit more why.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
Worth Ave Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call Fav Gross.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call Fav Gross today, 888-235-HELP.
Are you struggling to pay your mortgage? Afraid of foreclosure and the financial mess it can cause? Time is not on your side. Call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist. For years, Alan has been helping distressed homeowners navigate through the short sale process. His experience will get you out of your home without the credit score damage that follows foreclosure. If you want a fresh start, you need to call Alan Stalter, the short sale specialist, 248-854-3829 or MetroDetroitShortSale.com.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
An important message if you're planning to file for Social Security disability.
The biggest problem I see is people don't go to an attorney until after the claim for disability is denied. You need to get it right the first time.
Before you file for Social Security disability, call Thav Gross.
We do the homework to make sure the claim is properly presented so that you get the benefits you deserve.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Call today. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
Thav Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
Welcome back to the Talk Center. We're analyzing foreclosure. I've got David Einstein with me, Trevor Cruz, Jenny Lingle, Brian Small. You've got the brain trust of Thav Gross trying to analyze what Mike and Rita should do. All right, let's suppose they don't. When we went to the break, we were saying, suppose they don't want the house. Suppose they've got a big roof problem. They've got water coming up from the basement. They got all sorts of things. They don't really love this house. Let's suppose if it was they knew it was going to go to a full credit bid. We could then take the process and stretch it out. Suppose they don't want to keep the house on a long-term basis, but they don't mind the idea of living there for a sustained period of time without making the mortgage payment, so that they can put that money into savings towards maybe buying a new house or a big down payment on a security deposit on a rental, or buying it not. You're not going to be able to get a conventional mortgage.
Ken, you're telling me I could take roughly $1,700, $2,000 a month, put it in my pocket every month for, let's say, a year. The house goes to a sheriff's sale at foreclosure, a full credit bid. I don't owe any more on it, and that money is mine?
Yes.
Not only is it yours, but the strategy that we...
What do we call that, Brian?
Getting your equity out.
That's what I call that.
The strategy is...
But there's no equity in the house.
Yeah,
but you put a down payment down, didn't you, when you bought it? This is getting your down payment back. It's getting your money back. It's a tough world.
We could talk about who took the equity away, but I'll just tell you that it was Bank of America.
So what were you going to say?
I was just going to say it's not just up to a year.
It
could even be 2-3 years if we play the cards right. But let's talk about the other options that we have.
Wait, I want to before we jump off the option, how do you make that process go slowly? And it also ties into loan modification as an option. There's a new regulation, Reg X. Trevor's been studying Reg X day and night for the last month. Trevor, you love Reg X, don't you?
I love Reg X.
Jenny wants her own regulation. We're trying to come up with a cosmetic one for her. We're going to work on that. I'll get it for you next week. I know you're going to kill me for this later.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Just wait. I'm going to be in your office every 5 minutes on Monday with questions.
Okay, about Reg Z?
Okay. Maybe.
All right. Anyway, but Reg X is a new regulation that came out in January of this year. It's from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It goes to, before a lender can foreclose, they have to give you a loss mitigation option. And they have to follow all these procedures. So suppose your option isn't that you want it. Suppose, number one, you want it to go to foreclosure, or suppose you want to get a loan modification. Either way, we're going to use Reg X to do two things. If we want to stay in the house a long time, we're going to apply for a loan modification, and we're going to make the lender follow all the procedures that this new law says, because it slows the process down, and they don't even know the procedures yet because it just came out, and it's 100 pages long in terms of the rule. So they're all pulling their hair out. So we start barking that you're not following Reg X. They get scared because if they violate Reg X, they have all sorts of potential problems with regulatory control of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, who's doing oversight on them, and they don't want to get into those kind of problems and get fined, so they move slowly. On the flip side, suppose they want to get a modification. Well, that's where you use Reg X to apply for your modification. So either way, we're using this new regulation to either buy time to let the house go to foreclosure eventually and live there as long as possible without paying, or option 3, buy time to short sell the house so that we can find a buyer to purchase the house for less than the amount owed and then negotiate a release on the deficiency from the first to Bank of America or the second with Chase, both of them. Or we use it to buy time to actually get a loan modification. Reg X is a wonderful thing
keep in mind,
that was given to us.
I also want to emphasize it, and I don't want to give the impression that it is all 100% negative to the bank. We've found out, even with Reg X or some other laws out there that have been passed at the state level, that when we force these laws to be filed and force discussions with the lender and the attorneys that we know that represent the lenders locally, quite often it's a win-win situation, and the loan gets modified, the bank gets money, so it's not necessarily, it's just 100% getting your equity out and against the bank.
And it's about dialogue. Once you have someone who has your attention and you can talk to them, then you can make a logical, smart deal. You can make a deal to do a deed in lieu sometimes. Give them back the house, get a release for the deficiency if you don't want to go through the short sale. There are a lot of options that you can pursue. I want to quickly tell you, how do you know if you qualify for a loan modification? Take your gross monthly income, multiply it by 31%. If that amount is less than your current mortgage payment, you are HAMP eligible and you'd qualify for a loan modification. In this case, with Mike and Rita, their income is $5,000. 31% times $5,000 is $1,550. Their current mortgage payment is $1,750. They would qualify for a modification. They would be able to keep the home. The payments that they miss would be tacked on to the balance of the mortgage. They probably wouldn't get principal reduction, but they'd be able to retain that house. This is assuming they want the house. If they didn't want the house, even when they got the loan modification, they could do two things. They could make a couple payments and then stop paying and let the process start all over again, or they could just decline the loan modification. There's options. The whole thing that is important to know on this thing is if you're proactive, you have a lot of weapons and tools that can help you. What people make the fatal mistake is by doing nothing. And the time you need to act is before the house is 90 days behind. Because under Reg X, if you turn in a completed application before it's 90 days, you preserve your appeal rights if they deny your loan modification. And so let's suppose you don't even want to stay in the house. They deny you your loan application, we then appeal it. It buys another 6 months before they deal with the issue.
And the first biggest mistake is doing nothing. The second biggest mistake is only going to someone that could only discuss one tool.
You've got to look at your options. You've got to play it out. That's the important thing. I want to thank you for listening and watching the Financial Crisis Talk Center. Have a great week. We will be back next week.